Second question that Kilobyte 007 has is there anything that backs up the possibility of Abel being Remy's father? Anything at all? Question mark.
I mean, besides the fact that they're both French, and even Abel's Frenchness is kind of questionable, but I mean, I don't think there's any other connection there. I mean, Abel's backstory. He's basically another Seth. He's like another guy. He's sort of like I would say a defective one of the guys from Seth's line of characters, like the bodies that Bison created. But so I don't think they say how old he is, but if he's created adult, then you would think by the time of Street Fighter 4 that Remy would already be born by the time Abel sort of comes around, because Street Fighter 5 only happens a few years after Street Fighter 2 even, and Street Fighter 4 is kind of stuck in the middle there. So I don't think he could be Remy's father. I've heard Guile as well, just because he's got some similar moves, but I don't know. I don't think there's any credence to that.
Gotcha. All right, so Hector, I'm going to mispronounce this, Asiego. Hector Asiego asks, what are the chances of Cody? What are the chances of Cody returning to? You won't know the answer to this. What are the chances of Cody? What are the chances of Cody returning to Street Fighter 5? I think I already told him you wouldn't be able to answer that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, just look at least looking at who they've announced so far, that pretty much anybody could come back. So
I mean, I think eventually all of those popular characters will come back, probably by the end of 2016, 2017. They're just going to keep the DLC coming and coming and coming. And I'm sure we'll probably see Hagar as well, hopefully. So another question from YouTube. Shoryuken667 asks, a question that boggles my mind about Remy. How did he come about? I always felt he was more of an SNK character type.
I don't really know. I mean, a lot of the Street Fighter 3 guys, a lot of them are the guys that have the least information about them out there, about how they came up with ideas, and even some of them their backstories. But he's definitely right. I mean, he does look very, very SNK. I think it's that just kind of the way he holds himself, kind of like hunched over a little bit, or just the way he moves really smoothly, and that kind of makes him seem like more an SNK character too. But yeah, the origin of Remy, I don't really know. He's only in one game too, right? Only in the very last Street Fighter 3.
He's super skinny as well. That's why I always think of this guys as like skinny characters. Talking of skinniness, well, anyway, the next guy's name is Morbid Curiosity, and he has a lot of questions, but I think hopefully they're pretty good questions. So his first question is, if Capcom says the games are in separate universes, why do they continue to have them reference one another? No one is denying that Ryu scarring Sagat has been canon for every game since Street Fighter 1. Street Fighter 5 makes it clear that Charlie still died in Alpha. Guy and Cody's history with Mad Gear continues to be brought up in Street Fighter 4. Furthermore, Ryu and Birdie make it obvious that characters' ages are not frozen. They age consistently between sequels. So, sorry, the actual question is, if they say, I mean, they say behind the scenes they say they're separate universes, right? That's basically what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that was maybe like 10 years ago that they told us that too. So it might have changed. That's kind of just to explain why some stuff like the Charlie thing doesn't make sense. But I think they're definitely sort of changing their tactics on that. I think there's definitely more effort to make the games more connected these days. Like try to clearly, at least, even if they like Street Fighter 4, not a lot happened, but at least it mostly makes sense with the previous games, like Street Fighter 2 to Street Fighter 4. So, and I think it seems like the same thing. Street Fighter 5 makes sense. It fits in the continuity and stuff. So I think they've just sort of made more effort recently to make things fit together better.
Okay. So question 2 from Morbid Curiosity is, Ibuki was a heroine of sorts in Street Fighter 3, like Chun-Li was for Street Fighter 2. Don't you think she should be a protagonist in Udon's main story arc. She was given the most intel on the secret society for her G-File mission. So why isn't she befriending and teaming up with Alex?
Well, I mean, we've done Ibuki. We did a whole miniseries for her. We did a 4-issue miniseries just for Ibuki. And we're gonna have more Ibuki coming up. Actually, I've seen in the past week, I've seen 3 different artists draw Ibuki for different projects. So there's lots of Ibuki coming.
Okay. Question 3. Omar Dogan made a poll on his DeviantArt page regarding who the next Street Fighter Legends series should focus on, and fans voted Jury the most. I know you can't confirm Jury Legends at this point, but did Udon take this poll into consideration?
I didn't know about that poll, but we know that Jury's popular for sure. And I guess I'll tell you that Jury will, at minimum, be in the next thing Omar does, because he really wants to draw some Jury.
All right, well, that's a pretty good clue.
But, yeah.
So I think he'll be happy. Question 4. Was putting Slam Masters characters into the comics ever considered? If Hagar can get cameos, I think they should too.
Well, it is. I mean, Slam Master's not officially part of our license. The thing with that is the characters were designed by Tetsuo Ohara, who's the guy from Fist of the North Star, the guy who did that manga. So there's some rights issues there where I think he hasn't fully signed off on letting Capcom do whatever they want. So I think they have to ask his permission to do stuff. So it's just another layer of to get those characters. Now, if you look really closely, you might find some of them in the background of some of our comics anyway. But yeah, we can't do a full-blown sort of Slam Masters project quite yet, or bring them in as like main characters. They're kind of relegated to really secret cameos right now.
Gotcha. So his next question, I think, kind of relates to the bigger question we've been asking anyway. He says, if it's possible, would Udon be open to doing a Red Earth comic? I was disappointed by Maleficarum.
Maleficarum?
Maleficarum. Sure. It was a total rush job.
Okay, if you don't know what Maleficarum is, there's a manga by Mami Ito. She also did Street Fighter Gaiden, which is one of our other mangas, but she also did some Darkstalkers short, like one-off random stories, and also some Red Earth stories. And it's really short. There's only 4 chapters, which for the Red Earth part, which for a manga is really short. So yeah, they kind of crammed everything really quickly, and it's just to sort of promote the game. So they put Maleficarum contains her Darkstalkers comics and her Red Earth comics in one place. But if enough people talk to Capcom about licensing Red Earth, so that's what we want to know.
Right. So if enough people want it, that's a possibility. Question 6. Why doesn't Capcom explain everything? Why doesn't Capcom explain everything that happened in the previous Street Fighter games? Other fighting game developers like SNK and Namco are quick to give you details on who won the tournament, a full rundown on who everyone else lost to, which endings happened, and so on. But all Capcom has told us is that Ryu beat Saga, Alex beat Gil, very little else. We don't know who killed Seth, and we still don't know who beat Bison in Street Fighter 2.
My guess is just they want to keep things open and not tie themselves down to perfectly clarify everything that ever happened in the Street Fighter universe. So I mean, that's what we can do, though. We can do in the comics and give our opinion on what happened.
Right. I mean, that's exactly what you do. Is you fill out those gaps for people when they quite possibly will never be filled out. So I think that's pretty cool. Question 7. He's got a lot of questions. Ono-san says Capcom isn't able to put Karin in a new game because she's owned by a manga artist. Why is that a problem for them when Udon was able to put her in Sakura Legends?
I don't know. We've never had any problem using her. She is. I don't think she's. I don't know what Ono-san said, but I'm not sure if she's owned by there's a Nakahira who designed her and put her in the Sakura manga, and then later she showed up in the game. But we've never been told that we couldn't use her in the comics.
Right.
So
You know, it's just interesting because this is something that no one's been
it might
able to.
even be that they have maybe they have the rights to do it in comics and they don't technically have the rights to do it in games because that's something that happens sometimes. They've okayed rights for certain things and not other things. Like if you want a really small example, like the Capcom logo, when they use it on a game, it always has a little registered trademark on it. Like this is our registered trademark logo. If we put it out when we put it on the comics, it doesn't because it's not a registered trademark for comics. I guess it's just for video games. So there's like different rights for different mediums for sure.
Gotcha, gotcha. So what you're saying is I should register that trademark and make a lot of money by selling it to Capcom.
Well, I think it's still like you still get in trouble. It's just it's much easier for them to protect the video game one than the they'd
Gotcha.
have to do. Yeah, the video game one just like look done, we're done. You have no chance.
Yeah. No, there's just been a lot of talk recently. I mean, you know, I think most people's prediction is that Karin, I forget how to pronounce it. I know you know how to pronounce it perfectly.
We say
Um,
Corinne.
Corinne, that's it. More emphasis on the end, the Rin. Corinne, okay. Corinne, I think a lot of people think she's going to come be announced at Tokyo Game Show, and that would be great. I think one of the things that's been thrown around a lot, and maybe it's just misinformation, is this idea that she's not eligible, that she's owned by a manga artist, that Capcom don't own her, blah, 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 blah.
A lot of the time it's more work to just make sure it gets okayed. So you really gotta if you want to use her, they gotta be willing to like put in the work to just get the sign off. But I'm still not 100% sure what the if they for sure need the manga artists okay for that or not.
Got it, got it. Okay, so question A: if the decision to make DeCaprio a play, sorry, if the decision to make DeCaprio a playable character could be influenced by Udon's interpretation of her for, wait, I've lost the end of that question. That sucks. Oh wait, hold on. Can't even get back to it. No, I've lost that question. That sucks. Do you have it?
Let's see yeah, I've got it in my email here.
Question 8 from Morbid
They
Curiosity. So,
they're basically asking if our interpretation of DeCapre can influence the game, like her becoming a playable character can. They were asking about the same thing for Lita Luanda, who is one of the other members of Delta Red with Cammy. She's the other girl.
yeah, I remember her.
Yeah.
I'm surprised a lot of those characters haven't appeared. The Delta
Yeah, I mean
Reds.
she's pretty cool. I think though, even out of the Delta Red guys, she might be the last person they would choose to bring in, just because she's a blonde girl with a green outfit and army themes, like just like Cammy. So
Right.
that might make them less likely to pick her if they were going to pick one of those guys.
Yeah, I have to say that when I was reading, it's one of your books that covers a lot of that Delta Red when the team is together. And I was reading it, and I remember getting kind of mixed up a little bit, to be perfectly honest, because they're very similar looking. Okay, so his final question, Morbid Curiosity's final question. And Morbid Curiosity, if you're out there, you owe me one, because there's 9 questions. Can Udon get the rights for Moto Kikaku to translate the Strider manga? If not, would an original Strider comic from Udon be out of the question?
Oh, well, that'd be actually wait. Here, this Strider manga. Ooh, I have a copy of it.
Wow.
It's very old school. It looks like it came out of the 70s, which I think is what they're going for. Like, look at the art in this. Let's see. Ooh, looks very like Kamen Rider-ish. Where's Strider himself? Let's see. There we go. Ooh, but this is something we've thought about before. I mean, we can. This the thing is we can only do so many things at once. But I'd love to do this. And we could always talk to Capcom about doing a Strider comic. It's from what we've heard, the Moto Kokaku guys are really like nice and really they're really happy to do anything, really. If you don't know the sort of backstory as I know it, it was kind of Strider was kind of co-developed by Moto Kakaku doing the manga and Capcom doing the game at the same time as like a they didn't have this word back then, but like as a transmedia property. So they wanted to sort of release it at the same time as a in multiple mediums. So that's why Moto Kakaku still has ownership of like they need to work with them whenever they do anything Strider. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to do the manga at some point for some reason. I think it's just this one volume. I don't think there's anything besides this. This is ancient, published by Comp Comics, apparently.
Okay, so the point is, like, you're definitely aware of that as something that maybe you would tackle in the future. Okay, so moving on from morbid curiosity, Zen Logicus, he asks, I'd love to know if Matt knows the true meaning behind the symbol on Vega's mask. I've never read anything definitive, official, only fan theories.
I don't know if, as far as I know, there isn't any. I mean, it's also not terribly consistent when they draw it. Sometimes it's always a little like V, kind of. Maybe it's a sideways V for Vega, but well, that wouldn't make sense because he's not Vega in Japan. But it's kind of a little curved swoosh thing, but sometimes it curves in, sometimes it curves out, sometimes it has points on it, sometimes it has dots on it. So I don't know if there's a real reason to it being just something that looks cool. I do know, I know the origin of Vega, like how they came up with that idea, is that when they're coming up with this is according to Akimon, when they're coming up with ideas for Street Fighter 2, they basically made a big list of martial artists or fighters, and they made a big list of countries. So they're just like, okay, karate, boxer, wrestler. And then they made another list that's like USA and Russia and Japan and Thailand and whatever. And then they just match them up. And then so they end up with, oh, okay, it's a Russian wrestler, that kind of seems cool, and American boxer, that makes sense. So when they're done, they're left with Spain and Ninja. They're like, I don't know. So but apparently one of their designers a girl designer came up with the design for Vega. I don't know which one, but yeah, it was just kind of, we're left over with these two ideas. Somebody try it out.
I mean, it's brilliant now. I mean, it's like been, this franchise has obviously been around for 25 years, so I don't think anybody even questions it, but it's kind of hilarious, really, when you think about it. Next question is from Spike Swimming Bird. It's too bad. Oh, this is directed at me, but maybe you can answer it. It's too bad you didn't ask about Q and any of his background in the Street Fighter universe. He is such a mystery. So can you shed any light on Q?
He's one of those guys who even his official like profile has like unknown blank like for any information about him. He's like probably even less than Remy. He has like less backstory. At least Remy, you kind of know what his motivations are with his sister and things like that. But Q has just like nothing. He's just this mysterious guy. Even his endings are like other people wondering about the mysterious Q. We actually did a short story about Q in one of the comics where it was really similar to that. It was some FBI and CIA guys kind of talking about all the different rumors they heard about Q. So one was like, "Oh, I heard that he was the dad of a famous fighter who got killed or something, and some people think he might be Chun-Li's dad. And I heard that he might be a robot, or I heard that there's like hundreds of Qs. They're all over the place because he always seems to be all over the place. So, I mean, as far as we know, there's no real origin for Q. I forget what anime it is, and it's not the one that most people think. One of the Capcom guys showed us the anime. It's on. I have to dig up the link sometime, but it's on YouTube. You can see the opening to this anime of where they got the origin for Q. A lot of people think it's Robot Detective K, and it might be because he looks a lot like Q. He's got like a mask, and he's got a detective sort of fedora and a trench coat, so he looks really a lot like Q. But we were told that that's not specifically it. They might be influenced by the same thing, but it's some villain in an anime. Not even a villain. They were like henchmen. So there's some anime. character fighting all these like guys in trench coats, and if you see it, you're like, oh, obviously that's a whole bunch of Qs there. So yeah, he's definitely influenced by a random anime.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've only ever seen theories like, oh, it's M. Bison's new body, or I think I think my favorite one is that he's the guy on the boat in Street Fighter 2 in the background.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, technically, even though I wrote that story, it's mostly just them talking about Q, and at the very end, you just see like Q's hands, like about to sort of take them out. So really, that's the only appearance that Q has made is like him sneaking up behind two guys. Is the only appearance he's made in our comics.
wow, yeah. So maybe that's just the whole thing. Maybe he's just supposed to be that mysterious. So Aaron63 asks, his first question is, ever thought about doing a Street Fighter cross King of Fighters type limited run of comics, or exploring more of Street Fighter cross Tekken in comics?
Well, for Capcom, we did a cross Tekken comic for the game. That was I think it was in like the special edition, and it was kind of just 12. The 12 pages might have been more. It might have been more like 20 pages, but it was just kind of all the guys in Street Fighter cross Tekken finding that Pandora box and uh, fighting over it, and Ryu and who was it? Was it Jin? It wasn't Jin. What's Jin's dad's name? I always forget his name. The main guy in Tekken, anyway. But it was the two of them fighting over the box and turning into their dark versions. But I mean, it's something we could do. Maybe I mean, supposedly Bandai said that Tekken Cross Street Fighter, which was supposed to be their half of the crossover, is actually very far in development, even though we haven't seen anything. So that was something they said as recent as it was like June or July. So that game's still coming. So maybe we'll have another chance to work with those characters.
Yeah,
And
I think
Street
that
Fighter
would.
Cross. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I think that would be really cool, actually.
Yeah, Street Fighter Cross King of Fighters, that'd be cool too. Um, I'd like to see Ryo and Dan right together, because I know Ryo's not a joke character, and he's not really a joke character. He's not meant to be, but he is the biggest Ryu Ken ripoff, and he's sort of the basis for Dan. Um, but oh, that'd be cool. Those King of Fighters has lots of cool characters in it for sure.
That would make sense. Do you do anything for SNK?
We haven't done anything yet. We did years and years ago. We talked to them about doing something. I think it was a comic at that time. It was before I was with Udon. This is from Eric Ko, but he said at that time they wanted really a lot of money for their characters, and we weren't really willing to invest it. But the company's really different now. Like it's a lot of different people. They've gone through a couple. Like the characters were. I think the company went bankrupt and a new company bought it and became SNK with some of the same guys, like the actual founder of SNK. And now they were really recently actually just purchased by a Chinese company who wants to exploit those characters more. So you might be seeing the new SNK stuff happening.
Oh wow. That would be good. I think that'd be good news to a lot of people. Question 2, mini-series. Oh, he just says question mark. Mini-series focused on Cammy, question mark.
Well, we could. I mean, thing with Cammy is we've kind of told a lot of her story. I think you think about it, most of the Street Fighter comics we've done are sort of half about Cammy. So there's not really a lot. There's not a lot to explore with her. So it wouldn't sort of be most of the other ones kind of explore characters' origins. But we could still do more Cammy comics for sure. Even if you check out our last Super Street Fighter volume, the hardcover, it sort of ended with a bonus Cammy story where you see in our continuity she's now leading a new team called Delta Blue, which sort of, I guess you could think of it, maybe Delta Red was just getting too much work or something. Cammy has her own team now, but had Abel on it and Ginzu from Delta Red. So hopefully we'll explore more of that in the future too. But it's a good character to do a miniseries on.
That makes sense. I've definitely read the comics. I forget what they're called, the actual comic books with the main storyline. The one before the more recent version. But regardless, I remember Cammy being in it a lot because she has.
Cammy's one of Ken Suchong, the writer's like favorite characters, so he's always trying to use her.
And she just has a good storyline, right? Because she sort of cuts through everything. Like she comes from being a doll controlled by M. Bison, you know, through to like this special agent, you know, Delta Red, whatever. It might be the other way around. I can't remember, but
she has really good ties to so many different characters too, like Cammy and M. Bison, Cammy and DeCapre, Cammy and even like Guile because he's another army guy, and or Chun-Li because I think she they get along really well. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do, and then all the Delta Red characters.
Okay, so in answer to that question, unlikely that we'll see a miniseries on her, but there's a lot of her in the current comics that the people can check out. So I have another question here. We have 4 more questions, and then I'll ask you a question. Okay. This one is from Ahmed Al Sinan, and he says, "My question is about Ryu's father, please. Is he Akuma, like what was hinted in one of the movies, or still unknown?"
Well, definitely still unknown, but it's kind of like the comics versus the anime versus the games. I mean, none of them are definitely meant to be the same continuity. So the movie is talking about is Street Fighter Alpha Generations, where it's kind of implied that it's definitely implied that Akuma is Ryu's father there. They did a similar idea where they implied that he's Akuma's Ryu's father in one of the mangas, the Street Fighter 3 Ryu Final manga, where at the end it's kind of through Akuma's dialogue, he kind of implies that he's his dad. Or you could just take it that he's sort of like the dad of all fighters or something like that. It's also very vague. We in our Akuma Origins comic, we kind of implied that Ryu's dad is the guy that killed Akuma's dad. So
yeah.
So that was kind of our, without officially saying that was kind of our thought, maybe. So
that was, if I remember rightly, that was like an initiation, right? That they have to do every generation.
It was a little bit of spoilers for the series, but it's that basically it was kind of an endless cycle that this guy. It turned out that so this guy, we just called him the Bandit. So the Bandit's dad had been killed by Akuma's dad. So basically the Bandit came and hunted down Akuma's dad and killed him. And then later Akuma hunted down the Bandit and killed him. So it was kind of supposed to be like an endless cycle of stuff. So if you think about it in the logical conclusion, like, oh, the Bandit's son would be the guy who would want to kill Akuma. So that's Ryu. So it's kind of this endless, and part of the story is that Gotetsu kind of told those characters that like this is the guy that killed your dad as like this is your kind of final test to see how you're going to take this news.
Right. Yeah. It was really interesting in that respect. So another question from Shocky D. We sort of covered this, but he just says, "Will we ever see Q again?" I'm not really sure if he means in the games or in Udon. He says, "I need to fortify more info." I need more info to fortify my madcap theories on him. So I guess we already talked a little bit about him, just like nobody knows anything about him, and the only time he's ever appeared in your comic books has been, you know, people talking about him being mysterious. And I guess his question is like, what does the future look like for Q? I guess is he on your mind?
We don't have lots of plans. We do definitely. He's going to show up somewhere. Definitely have a plan for him to show up somewhere.
Okay.
It's kind of it's not an important appearance. You're not going to learn very much about him, but he's going to appear again in the comics.
Okay. Next question is Big Black Raccoon. Is Akuma the strongest character in the Capcom universe, and is Street Fighter the most powerful universe in Capcom?
I mean, all of Capcom's not one universe, but if you're looking at all Capcom games, Akuma's pretty powerful, but there's other characters who are like gods and things. There's like Amaterasu is a god, I think, from Okami, or Asura. Asura might be the most powerful character in Capcom, maybe, because he like took on all the other gods as well.
That's true. And actually, in the DLC, he fights Ryu, Evil Ryu, Akuma, and Oni, and I think I'm pretty sure he doesn't kill him. I think he just beats them because you play you play him as the character anyway. So
Yeah.
um,
Is Street Fighter the most powerful universe? I don't know. There's powerful universe out there. Like, is Dark as a whole, is Darkstalkers more powerful than Street Fighter? Because those guys all have magic, and some of them are maybe probably immortal. And the Street Fighter guys, a lot of them, some of them have like energy attacks, but some of them are just like guys who fist fight, you know,
right.
or a wrestler or whatever.
Absolutely. So, being an Akuma fan, I'm going to say that he's the most powerful character ever in any universe. And the final question from the comments section is: since many characters such as M. Bison, Balrog in the USA, and Eagle are based on real-life people, what is the stance with the characters from the EX series that are actually owned by another company, that I think are on an internal department of Sega or Capcom? Just to know what Matt has to say in regards to that whole thing.
Well, I don't know if any of them are based on real people, but the whole he didn't really totally explain it, but the EX characters from Street Fighter EX are owned by a company called Arika, which was started by Akira Nishitani. So Arika is his name, his name backwards. So Akira Arika. So he was one of the two. He was one of the guys. He was the other lead as Pokemon Street Fighter 2. So, and after that, he went to found his own company. So Street Fighter EX is basically his company's game, for which he licensed the Street Fighter characters and name to put on. It's almost like a really complicated. It's like a more extreme version of like Sonic the Hedgehog in Smash Brothers. But not only did they license just one character, but a whole bunch of characters and a name. And I don't think they're owned by anybody. I think they're a totally independent company, but they're not as far as I know, they're not a publisher. They're just a developer. So other people publish their games. Like they work on, I don't know much what they do recently. I know they work on a lot of those variant Dr. Mario games, like Dr. Luigi and Dr. Mario, whatever, Dr. Mario RX, and like these weird like modern versions of Dr. Mario. But I don't know what else they do these days. But yeah, that's the whole deal with those characters. I don't think they'll ever give them up. But yeah, so it does kind of suck that that a lot of people think of those as Street Fighter characters and we can't use them easily.
Right, but you don't know if any of those characters were based on real people. That's what you're saying, right?
Not as far as I know. I don't know anything about them being based on real. Because those guys are kind of outside the Street Fighter universe a bit. There's not all as much information that turns up about them too.
The last thing he says is, again, goes back to just our question. He says, and now seeing Matt's last request from viewers, meaning last time we asked this question, it got buried at the back of the interview. He kind of wants to know what will be done with Darkstalkers, and is there any plan on expanding the story and lore? Will there be more translation from material on Darkstalkers?
Oh, there could be. There's more Darkstalkers mangas. There's one that was published by Enix before they became Square Enix. So not the Square side, but the Enix side. So that's something that exists. So we could always go after that. Or there's a recent anthology manga that Capcom published that we've been thinking about picking up. It's just a bunch of short stories. I think a lot of them are comedy stories too. But we might try doing that. But as for our own comics, we'd really love to bring back Darkstalkers. I know Ken, who writes Street Fighter, he actually likes Darkstalkers more than Street Fighter. So he will, at the drop of a hat, yes, I'll write anything Darkstalkers for sure. So, I mean, how soon we do more Darkstalker stuff and how much and how big of a deal it is kind of depends on, what we hear from people over, not just here, but, just in general in our fan mail about how bad they want Darkstalker to come back.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to ask you one question, which is Street Fighter V related, even though I know you can't give up any information. It's more just your perspective on the characters that have been revealed since we last spoke. So when we last spoke, Nakali had been revealed. We didn't really talk about that, I don't think. And so there's Nakali, there's Armika, there's Vega, and there's yesterday Rashid Rashid.
Rashid.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about? I mean, I guess you could probably talk a little bit about how you feel about Armika and Vega, perhaps.
Well,
Like
Vega's cool.
their inclusion. Sorry. What I meant to say is like,
Not a problem.
are you happy about their inclusion?
Yeah, I mean Vega at this point's been in almost every Street Fighter game. Besides, he's been in every game besides the original and 3. So he's been around a lot. It's kind of I like it. I definitely like his original costume more than the new costume, but the new one's fine. It's definitely something he would wear, like sort of fluffy shirt and
Yeah.
stuff. But I'm sure that there'll be some way to have DLC versions of the original costumes or something. They can't like not do that. They have to do that.
They are. Apparently, they confirmed that.
Okay.
They're doing it.
Vega's a cool addition. Armika's great. It's awesome that because she hasn't been in a game, just like Birdie, she hasn't been in a game forever since Alpha, whatever her first Alpha game was, 2 or 3, I don't remember. But and her new costume's like even more revealing than her old costume.
Oh yeah.
She kind of doesn't have like, especially like on the backside, she doesn't have like the sort of frillies, sort of partially covering her butt. It's just like a thong like Cammy now. But and it's really cool that they brought in her partner, because that is like one of the most obscure Street Fighter characters ever. I already forget her name, but I think I've read in Japanese her like full name is like a Japanese for the woman. Her full like first and last name.
Wait, sorry. Say that again, because you broke up a little bit. Her full name?
Oh, the Armika's partner. Her full name in Japanese, I've heard is Japanese expression that means the perfect woman. That's so as like a wrestler would be like, here comes the perfect woman, the wrestler.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. But she, as far as I know, she only exists in one piece of artwork that was on the cover of Capcom Secret File, like one of the little secret files that they mail away to people. So that's awesome that they brought her back. It'd be really cool. I don't know if they've thought of this, but if one of Armika's alternates is like alternate costumes is just you play as the partner and then Mika's the partner that comes in for the tag team moves, that'd be really cool.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really interesting. A lot of people made comments about that character. Like, I'd like to use that character more. So that's kind of cool. Even though I think they tried to make her look obviously a little more uninteresting than Armika. People were all over it. You know, like, oh, we need more of her. So yeah, that's cool. So yeah, that's kind of it, really. I want to reiterate to everybody again, what we're looking for to know is what is the Capcom fighting game that you would like to see made as a comic book by Udon. And I want to thank you, Matt. Is there anything you want to add at all?
Well, just remember that Street Fighter Unlimited #1 comes out in December. We actually have a date for it now. I don't know if I should say it in case we miss it, but we're aiming for December 9th for the release of Street Fighter Unlimited #1. It will be available in comic stores. There'll be a bunch of different covers. They're all awesome. There will be a digital edition same day as the physical edition. Will be released on the same day on Comixology. So if you're a digital fan or you're a international fan, you can get it that way. So we're making a huge deal about it too. We're also working on possibly another really cool avenue that Street Fighter fans can get a copy. We'll see if that pans out. But so there might even be more ways to get it.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, well, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, and if you get the opportunity, please do subscribe because they'll keep the content coming. And yeah, just, I guess, peace out.
Cool.